The Samsung Note 20 Ultra was the last Galaxy Note. I just lied to you. It definitely wasn't the last Galaxy Note. The S22 Ultra is the last Note so far, but the Note 20 Ultra was the last flagship smartphone that Samsung made that was officially called a Note. It's been 18 months since Samsung launched the Note 20 Ultra, and that's a pretty large amount of time for a modern piece of technology. Is it still worth buying? Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas. Thanks to Vodafone for sending out today's subject matter. This is my review of the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra in 2022. Because it's been over 18 months since this phone was released, you can pick one up for under £500. That's ridiculous value for money. For some context, the S21 Ultra sits at just under £700, around £650 on the used market as well, and I would say they're fairly similar smartphones. And spoiler, that makes this one of the best value smartphones on the used market. The spec sheet is also really stacked. 8 to 12 gigs of RAM, 128 to 512 gigs of storage, triple cameras, a Quad HD 120Hz screen, a 4500 mAh battery, and as always, the S Pen. Depending on where you are, you'll either get the Snapdragon 865 Plus, the better version in my opinion, or the Exynos 990 like the one I'm reviewing today. Graphics performance of those Exynos chipsets isn't great, especially compared to the Snapdragon and Bionics of the world. That said, I found the Note 20 Ultra to run most games pretty smoothly. It runs Genshin and Minecraft, two fairly high-end 3D titles. They run relatively well. It's definitely not the most responsive phone in the world. If you're looking for a gaming phone, maybe this isn't for you, but it does run games really nicely. And of course, anything below that runs very smoothly anyway. Also, because of the huge screen and S Pen, I found 8-Ball Pool to be a pretty good game to play on here. The idea of the Note is to be a productivity workhorse, and that feeds into the huge display. I'm sure that you're all aware at this point that Samsung makes some of the best smartphone displays in the world, and this one is absolutely no different. It's big, it's bright, it's high resolution, it's responsive, and it's really fun to use. Especially with the S Pen, you're getting a lot of screen real estate and sheer size to play with. I found that annotating screenshots, writing notes, and generally doing work on the Note 20 Ultra was possible and actually quite a good experience. I've enjoyed the S Pen and the Note series ever since the Note 4. I think the Note 4 was a brilliant smartphone, and this kind of echoes that. What Samsung's done to differentiate the Note and the S in recent years is to square off the corners and the edges, and I'm a big fan of this change. I've never really liked the whole rounded corners approach. I think it just looks really cheap and like a toy, but it's where everything seems to have gone. Even the MacBooks now have rounded corners. So what I appreciate about the Note 20 Ultra is that the corners are very tightly rounded, so that there's not much of a roundness to it compared to something like the iPhones. Just looks really clean in my opinion, and of course with the minimal bezels just helps it as well. I also never used to like this camera bump design, but I much prefer it to the weird domino thing that we found on the S21 Ultra, and I actually really like the new one on the S22 Ultra. The only issue that I had with my review unit was the fingerprint scanner. It wouldn't register my fingerprint, when you go to set it up in the settings. It wouldn't let me do that for like 3 weeks, and then suddenly an update came around and managed to fix it. I'm not really sure why. Even then, the fingerprint scanner is not very responsive. I found it to be quite temperamental. It's just something to look out for. The face unlock is pretty good though. This phone is definitely huge. If you have small hands, expect to have to jiggle and shimmy the phone around as you use it, or put a case on it, because you will drop it, and also good luck. The sheer size helps the S Pen fit inside the phone along the 4500 mAh battery. And given that it has an almost 7-inch display to power, as well as everything else inside, it's a miracle that it does get me through a full day. Now, as I'm sure if you watched my videos before, you'll know I'm not a particularly heavy user, about 2 to 2.5 screen hours a day, and I don't do much on LTE. It's mostly Wi-Fi, a bit of Bluetooth here and there, and about 70% screen brightness. It is not amazing battery life. It's good, it's solid. If you're a heavy user, you will have to top up throughout the day. Maybe something like a lunchtime sort of 15-minute top up will see you towards the end of the day, but I'm someone who doesn't top up their smartphone because I don't tend to use it as much as a lot of other people. Samsung's One UI is actually very efficient and does contribute towards a good battery life. It's also very clean looking, and I happen to really like it. It's my favorite Android skin. This is running One UI 4 based on Android 12, which recently got released for the Note 20 Ultra, and I would expect at least one more Android update after this. I've been pretty open about expressing my love for Samsung cameras. I just really like the photos that come out of them. I like the way that they look, and I like the powerful versatility that you get. They're technically excellent, flexible, and easy to use. The 4 cameras on the Note 20 Ultra start with a 108 megapixel main with a huge sensor that's flanked by a 12 megapixel ultra wide and a 12 megapixel 5x optical periscope. And they're all joined by a 10 megapixel selfie camera. There's the ability to shoot 8K video, 1080p 240 and Ultra HD selfie video as well. Samples from the main camera come out really sharp with plenty of dynamic range and detail. I've noticed that the Note 20 Ultra raises the shadow exposure a little more than with the newer cameras. I'm not sure why this is, but I am on the latest software, so it must be sort of a hardware firmware thing. I do like the way that Samsung captures colours, plenty of pop and fun to the images. The large sensor helps out in low light, though this isn't the king of low light by any means. And the ultra-wide camera isn't as powerful from a technical standpoint as the main because the sensor is smaller and the aperture is more closed up. That said, in adequate lighting scenarios, there's a lot to like here. Images come out relatively sharp, colours are similar to the main shooter, but with a slight deviation in white balance most of the time. And then with the 5x telephoto, of course this is less powerful than the sort of 10 times you find in the S21 and S22 Ultra, but that shouldn't take away from how good the images are from this thing. You're getting a nice 120-ish millimeter equivalent focal length with an f3 equivalent aperture. So then, should you go out and buy one? Well, yeah, you absolutely should. So if you are in the market for one of these things, do not buy new, buy used, because you can get them at literally half the price, and you're maybe getting one with a scratch or two on it, but you're saving 500 quid. Like, that's like a litre of fuel these days. I jest, but really it's kind of going that way. Anyway, yeah, the Note 20 Ultra is a brilliant smartphone. It's very well rounded. I would say the S21 Ultra feels like an overall better smartphone, but you're missing out on the aesthetic of the Note 20 Ultra, the price, because it's £150 to £200 more. And then of course the S Pen. The S Pen is very, very valuable and something that I use quite a bit when I get to test out a Galaxy Note. One thing I will say is please don't go for the Note 20 standard. It's not very good and I overall just don't recommend that smartphone. The Ultra though, very, very nice. I'm going to leave links to where you can buy it from Vodafone in the video description. Thanks to them for sending out this smartphone. It's a really, really nice one to use and I've enjoyed reviewing it. I want to give a massive shout out to my patrons for being continually supportive. Really do appreciate you. And all my social media links will be in the video description as well as my Patreon page. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas. Please do like, comment and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. I've been Ryan Thomas and I'll catch you later. Peace.